Welcome to EVISION Live, and our topic today, the might
inside.
The might inside.
What a might inside.
And imagination can achieve everything. With Dr. Alexandra Kleberg
and Dietrich Pusaka.
Welcome.
Welcome to your happy, healthy, fulfilled life.
Alexandra, we have been already talking about imagination the last 2-3 broadcasts.
About the birth present.
Yes, actually imagination is one of your biggest birth presence, and it's the might inside of you, maybe the most powerful might that you have. And you have been working a little bit about imagination. What happened since our last broadcast? What did you do?
I wasn't working on imagination. I was putting into my homepage, our homepage, blogs, and the blogs were about the healing stories of a lot of my clients or the participants of my groups, and they were crazy healing imaginations. And I was fascinated by how they healed stomach ache or back pain or tinnitus or thyroid dysfunction or whatever. It's very fantastic what people invent, how they got into this creative field of healing, of creating something, and I was very delighted about these stories and about the power of imagination for healing.
What actually is imagination? How could one describe it? How does it function?
It is not so well defined in contrast to fantasy, but I try to do it for our listeners. Imagination comes from the Latin word imago, which means image. It's in the English word image.
Yeah,
imago.
We have these imago cells also of the butterfly
Imago
already.
cells.
Yes.
So it means that we have inner pictures. We have outer pictures. I see you, I see your shirt, I see your hair, I see the tapestry on the wall and the painting there. That's an outer picture. But when I close my eyes, I can reconstruct it, and I have an inner image of that, right? And I can also have inner images from things that are not real right now, but that were real in the past. Like I can imagine you as a young boy at school and teasing the teacher, for example. So this is sort of a real image. But when you ask or talk with policemen, when somebody stole something and there were, 5 or 10 witnesses, they will tell you different stories. So something which we might call a real inner image might not be real so far. You might fantasize something into it. And fantasy is the wider field. Imagination, it's just a possibility we have, a Fähigkeit. What's the English word?
Well, a capacity to do.
A capacity to do it. And fantasy, it's a realm, it's a kingdom where everything is possible. So I can imagine you with a crown or with wings, with a red suit on. I can imagine us flying in a tent through the moon or through the Milky Way. So fantasy combines elements that we have seen before, but we combine them in a way which is not real on this earth. So you with a red suit might be real.
Yes.
It might not be fantasy, but if I create horns and create wings and create 5 arms or whatever, we are going into the realm of fantasy. So Einstein said...
He said imagination is more important than knowledge.
Because knowledge is limited. And I don't know what is the right translation. I think he said fantasy is more important than knowledge.
Yeah,
because
probably.
we imagine
everything that you have here. It's your vest, the camera there,
the glasses,
everything
the light, the image.
Somebody imagined it before, or
yes.
he had the fantasy of this new product, and he created. So everything is built on.
Everything man-made is made out of imagination. Sometimes it is even made out of fantasy, we would say, because some people invented things where people said at that time, that's crazy, that's fantasy, that's not a real image inside, it's something very, very different. So
it was not possible actually to have this image because it didn't exist.
Yes, but it's somehow it existed in the mind of a person, or maybe someplace else in this universe. So you need imagination for everything man created. And you can create, you can use imagination for healing.
Your hypothesis is you can heal almost any disease with imagination.
Yes, I think you can heal everything with imagination. 95 of the sicknesses or diseases you can heal by imagination, and there are proofs for that it is possible. We don't always know how or which imagination you should use, but there are proofs that every single sickness there is in this modern world has been healed already. So something is possible which we don't believe is possible.
So you're watching the might in your might inside and the power of imagination with Dr. Alexander Kleberg and Dietrich Busacker. And so leave your comments below if you have any insights during this broadcast. Alexandra, imagination, is it something very new? Is it we are now rediscovering it, or do we find imagination has already been used in history to...
I think it isn't rediscovered yet. I think it's not taught in schools, it's not taught in families, it's not taught in universities. I think it's the mightiest might we have, and this differentiates us from animals. I think my dog, or our dog, his name is Caramello, and we would like to invite him here, but he
will come into the show, yes.
Like he likes to dig in the ground for mice or for something, and sometimes when he's dreaming, he's doing these movements. So he might have a memory of an outer image or an inner image.
Of a rabbit, of a mouse.
So he might imagine, but research isn't quite sure about that as I'm concerned. But I think this possibility to fantasize that this mice is green and has wings and can fly to the moon, or that Caramello can have pink hair and
has also wings and can fly over the mountains.
As big as the Empire State Building or whatever. I think that's only due to us human beings, and maybe it's the spirit of the universe as well. We don't know that, but a lot of scientists say that imagination is the beginning of all. And we talked about that the first cells must have had an image of their own wholeness to repair themselves. So there might be imaginations at a very, very early level, and maybe the whole universe imagines that we are just talking right now. We don't know about that, but I think it's the greatest power we have.
So you say imagination is not taught in schools, but has it been taught, or was it used in history? Did mankind use already a little bit more than their imagination?
I think they used
as
it
we do
all along, and not the only imagination of a visual image, but of a sensitive image. Like you have it in songs, you have it in dances, you have it in paintings, in art, and so forth. And there are images in caves, healing images. So we suppose that early men worked with healing images. We have healing songs, healing dances, which are throughout history. Often they were forbidden, which is very interesting, but that's another chapter of an interview. Why we lost this power of imagination on the way of culture and of cultural history. And in Europe there were temples of healing for 1,000 years, and they practiced healing by imagination or by embodied imagination or by healing fields for 1,000 years. And almost nobody on this earth knows
awesome. So if you have an idea where these temples have been, please write them down in the comments. We are very curious to know who is the first one who has the right answer.
Yes, these temples existed from 600 before Christ to 300 something after Christ. So that was about 2,600 years ago when they started. And they kept them on working, healing for 1,000 years.
This is a long period. It's 30 generations.
Yes, it's a very long period, and almost nobody knows about that. And I found it out by chance for about, 10, 15 years, and I researched about it. And the temples were the temples of Asclepius.
Now you know where they might have been.
Yes, they were in Greece and in Italy. And we still have the symbol of Asclepius. In Germany we have it at the medical practices. We have it here in Lindau. We have a hospital. It's called Asclepius. And
I think you have it almost everywhere in medicine. It's a symbol.
With a snake around it. So what is left of this 1,000 years is a symbol and a name. And that's about all of it, and nobody knows about it.
And a few stones, I think, they are left from this temples.
Yes, but nobody knows about it. They have big stones where they wrote in their healing successes.
They carved in, yes.
They carved them in. And there are, I think, about 70 or 80 of these stones left. And some have very funny stories. They cured cancer, they cured stomach ache, they cured, I think, something like Parkinson. And there's this one story of a man, he came with a sickness, I forgot which one it was. And it's a very, very big temple, and there are a lot of people working there, and you have to pay for it.
It's not free of charge.
You have to bring a chicken or a goat or whatever, you have to pay for it. You get feeded there for weeks, maybe months. And he got healed there, and he left without paying something.
Oh, okay.
And they wrote that down, they carved that into stone, and he came back about a few months later because he was sick again.
Complained. I didn't get healed.
Yes,
why? You didn't pay, so it doesn't work.
He went through the rituals. I will tell more about that later. And they said, well, you have to pay, otherwise it won't work. And then he paid the goat or the chicken or whatever, and he was healed forever.
Okay.
And this temple, I think they worked with imagination, or they worked with healing rituals and embodied imaginations. They were very, very big. It was about 200 of them in southern Greece and in Italy. We were in one in Delos 2 years ago.
And there were these temples, there was just some rocks and some little leftovers of temples. Had this big part of the temple, big entrance And above that was written, I think, know thyself. This is was
Yes,
of
but
the
that's
Apollo,
your fantasy.
Apollo temple.
That's your imagination. You make that out of it. It was. I think there was no portal, but you know that there should have been a portal, or there was a portal.
I think
and
there was, well, no. Maybe
and
it's
so
my
you
imagination.
just imagine it. Yes, because there were portals saying "Know thyself."
Yes.
And below,
This was Apollo, the father of Asclepius.
that was the father of Asclepius, the Apollo temple. And in the Asclepian temples, there was sometimes something else written, and we could translate it in a modern language. Healthy and whole is whoever has healthy and whole thoughts, or whoever has embodied healthy and healing inner images.
So this is your Western translation of an old Greek proverb.
Yes, and it's very modern. Research proves that more and more.
Yeah.
And these temples, they didn't work with herbs, they didn't work with pills or with material things. They worked with imagination.
And you would say embody-mental imagination. So
Yes.
what is the difference between embodiment of imagination and the simple imagination?
In a simple imagination, you just imagine a river which flows to the sea. And if you embody it, you sense it, you hear it, you feel it, you taste it, you smell it, and you embody the sensation as if it was real. So it's not just the frontal brain, which has an image, or wherever it is connected in the deeper layers of the brain. It becomes a personal sensation, and by that it becomes an experience. And we learn from experience. We don't learn from images. We learn from experience. So it's very important. The image is the tool for an experience.
Okay.
And the experience is the healing guide.
And what happened then in these temples? How did they use these methods?
So the first was that people had to take off their old clothes, and with their old clothes, their old roles. Because we talked about belief systems.
Yeah.
And
Get rid of your old belief system.
Get rid of your old belief system.
Okay.
And they got new clothes, and with that a new role and a new dignity. I think they had washings. And cleansing is a very old method to cure sicknesses. So they had washings to cleanse their old role off, their sickness off.
Like you're having a wonderful imagination. I think when you go into the morning, you take your shower.
Exactly.
Just rinse off all the bad ideas, all the bad feelings.
Or the nightmares. And you can even
just
open your scalp and rinse your brain. You wash your brain, you wash your eyes inside, you wash your ears inside, you wash all your inner organs. So you don't need to fix it to the material level. You also cleanse inside.
So you can have your cleansing ritual every morning.
Yes. So I think they had this ritual, and then the atmosphere in the temple was of joy, of positivity, of beauty, of arts. There was a theater, there were halls for singing and dancing, there were stadiums for body exercises. So people came from this worried world, and they left it. They took off their clothes, they took off their worries and their doubts, and they were sort of dipped into an atmosphere of healing, of health, of joy, of heartfulness, of creativity, of foaming spontaneity, of arts. And so that was a part of the process, to dance, to sing, to play, to move, to get cleansing, and to have different sort of contacts. The outside world was outside. The problems were left outside.
They're left outside.
So they forced the mindset change by that. And you maybe imagine when they were singing at your working place, in your family, when they were dancing, when your partner would do theater for you, or your CEO or whatever, it would be a much different atmosphere at work. It would be healthy and healing, right? If you would have fun and joy with it and dance and laugh. So people were dipped into this atmosphere, I think, for some weeks. And they opened up, they opened their heart, they opened their bodies.
They got ready.
They got ready. And the center of the Asclepian healing was the temple sleep. And once the priest or priestesses thought or felt somebody was ready for that, they were taken into the
center of
the temple. It's called the Abaton. And they lay down there. And then something happened.
They lay down and they got into sleep.
The snakes came.
The snakes came.
Yes.
But I'm sleeping first. Or
I don't know. There's not much research on that.
Okay.
That's not carved into the stone. If they fell asleep first, if the snake. Anyway, the snakes came.
I would be horrified. Snakes coming.
Yes.
It's a sexual symbol, a snake, but otherwise I'm quite afraid. If I have nightmares, then how often snakes are in these nightmares.
Yes, so I was asking myself, why the snakes? Why is the snake a symbol of the Asclepian healing temples? Because people get afraid.
Yeah, and as I know you, you probably imagined this situation. You went probably several times through it.
Was sleeping or resting in this temple, and the snakes came, and I said, oh, the snakes came. I imagine it didn't feel healing. It didn't really feel good. And then there were some people whom I discussed it with. They said, oh, well, that's a transformational symbol because they peel off their skin every once in a while. And I said, but that doesn't help me when the snakes come. Yes. And so I took off their poison teeth.
Okay, you imagined that they didn't have any poison teeth, yes.
And I imagined they were good snakes.
And well, not all snakes are poisonous, so they're very good snakes anyways.
Nice snakes.
Okay.
And I had them crawl over my body. And it started feeling better.
The skin is very soft of snakes.
Yes, I know.
Them,
yes, I did. It's very, very soft, and it's a very soft movement. And at the same time, when I created this inner journey into the Asclepian temples, there was a person in my group, and he came in on a Thursday morning from a Lumi Lumi massage, and that was, I don't know, 10 years ago, and I didn't know much about Lumi Lumi, and they said, oh, it's like this snake-like waves of the hands, and it's very, very relaxing. And so I think...
It is, if you take it.
Yes, I think these Asclepian snakes were the Lumi Lumi masseurs. They really softly relaxed the body, and they opened up the body, maybe even in an erotic sense. You open up. And this opening up is very important for healing, that you're not only open in your mind, but also in your body, so you can have new experiences.
All your cells are open and
so
ready.
I think the snakes came for that, and that's why these Asclepian temples have the symbol of a snake.
And every doctor today still has it.
Yeah, the pharmacies in Germany. I don't know if in America or in India. I don't know, but here it's a very traditional symbol. And then when you sleep, and this is very interesting, the healing took place in trance and sleep, and now neuroscience knows that we are deeply programmed in the trance state of the brain when we were a child. And meditation knows, imagination knows that you can reprogram it when you go back into this trance state. So the Asclepian healers knew about that. And so when the body opened up and the mind was sleeping, Asclepius came, and I couldn't find what he did. Of course, he didn't live 1,000 years, so you don't know whatever happened there. So it might
one big priest or priestess.
We don't know. We don't know. Maybe it was just imagination. I don't know. I don't know. And we don't know what he did. If he said something, if it was a gesture, if it was just the atmosphere, if it was a touch, we don't know about it. But something must have happened that shifted the mind from disease to ease, from symptoms to healing, from challenges to chances or whatever. There must have been a mind shift in this trance state, and people got healed.
Yeah. And I imagine, well, you have this Asclepius steps. You developed a journey, a guided imaginary journey
into these old temples.
I think this is really one of your great guided imaginations. It's a quite long one.
It's about half an hour, I think.
You have just spoken it recently on English. It's not published yet because it still has to be worked on and formatted.
But it will be in 2 months. It takes a lot of time to get it to Amazon.
To get it approved, whatever. So this process is ongoing. So you will be getting it in the near future. If you want to actually, please...
you can apply down...
Yeah, we give you a link where you can just register, so we can send you once it's out, and then we will have a promotion of a week where it will be free to download.
Exactly.
But this imagination, this guided imagination is so, I think it's so crazy, or it's so impressive every time I participated in it. Well, I'm always then, when this Asclepius comes, I normally take an example. I want to heal something, or I have some idea, some challenges I want to bring them into, and then I somehow get it. But I've seen really people who came in, like a lady with a back pain, who came, I can't probably not stay all the time of your seminar. You did this journey with us, and she said, all my back pain is gone. It was so really amazing. And you have another example of another lady who got healed during this.
Yes, I had a participant of my groups. She got an injection when she was getting her child
into the spine.
Yes. And
narcosis.
It might not have been set well. We don't know. The child was healthy, but she had sensitivity problems with her both legs from then on. And she came into my groups when the child was about 4 or 5. And she couldn't really, she could walk, she could move, but she couldn't really feel the feet and the legs.
And no medicine could heal her.
No.
No doctor was able to heal her. Okay.
And she went through this Asclepian healing imagination, which is about half an hour, and then she came up into her normal consciousness, and she said, I can feel my feet and I can feel my legs. And I said, what happened? And she said, well, she was in this temple, and she was in this temple sleep, and Asclepius came, and she took her a long knife out of her spine.
Okay.
So that was her imagination, and she said, he has the pain now, he has the sensitivity problems. They were compromised in the knife, and he took the knife out of her spine, and this imagination helped her to feel her legs and feet again. So I think this is very crazy too, right?
Amazing, really. Okay, what can we actually give our spectators here, listeners? What can we give them? Any advice for at home exercises for at home?
Yes, do this cleansing exercise. Imagine that you clean off your problems. Imagine that you open your scalp and you wash your brain and wash your inner organs. You can do that. Every morning when you dress, you can imagine you put on a new role, which you might not have had before. You might put on a new mindset or whatever. And just try to bring joy and laughter and beauty and art and creativity into your life. Do it with your family, with your friends. Try it on your working places.
That's a good idea, yeah.
Yes. I think we have a vision of this society.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit like the Asclepian atmosphere. It's joy, it's fun, it's creativity, it's heartfulness together, and laughter and art. So bring it into your life. Create an Asclepian, a healing atmosphere wherever you go and with whoever you meet.
And if you know of other cultures who have similar exercises, who are also working with imagination, we have studied a lot, which the temples of Asclepius are just one of many examples.
But they were 1,000 years.
They were 1,000 years. So, but if you have other examples, please leave them down here beneath in the comments, and also please tell us your takeaways in the comments.
Okay.
And so thank you so much, and hope to see you next Tuesday again at the same time. Thank you.
Open your heart and start.